Hi, my name is Dean Paul Denniston, and today we'll be replacing the battery on our E-Prime. This is a pretty easy process. It should take you approximately 20 minutes from start to finish. You will need the following tools: a Phillips screwdriver, a 3mm Allen wrench, two 5mm Allen wrenches, and some double-sided tape. This process can be completed in 4 easy steps. Step 1, removing the front wheel. Step 2, removing the controller tray and battery. Step 3, reinstalling the controller tray and battery. And step 4, reinstalling the wheel. As with working on any electric product, always make sure to turn off the power before you begin. Now we're going to flip the scooter as the components we're working on are on the bottom. Now let's get started on step 1, removing our wheel. For this, we have to remove the bolt going through the wheel. This is where we're going to use our two 5mm Allen wrenches and loosen that bolt. Insert one on each side and loosen. Once you've removed the bolt, simply grab your wheel and slide it straight out. And that concludes step 1, removing our wheel. And now on to step 2, removing our battery and controller tray. To do that, we'll have to remove the end cap, remove the controller tray cover, slide the battery out, and pop out the controller tray. First, let's remove our end cap. Take your Phillips head screwdriver and remove the 2 screws right on top. The screws are out, now slide your end cap straight out. The end cap is off, now let's remove the controller tray cover. There are 6 screws we need to remove, so take your Phillips screwdriver and start removing. The 6 screws are out, now you can remove the cover by lifting from the bottom. And set it aside. Now let's move on to removing the controller tray. To do this, we have to disconnect all the wires to the controller. You don't have to worry about keeping track of what plugs where, as they all only plug in one way. Now that you have the wires inside the controller tray disconnected, move up front and disconnect the long wire going to the throttle. Now you can remove the grommet on the back of the controller tray. Slide the grommet straight up and pull it out. Now remove the battery tray by lifting straight up on the opposite side of the charging port. This may take a little finagling. Once you got that side out, slide the rest of the tray out gently and pull the wires for the battery out the hole and slide the throttle wire all the way down along the battery. To remove the battery, we have to first remove the bracket and the rubber grommet. Take your 3mm Allen wrench and remove the 4 screws holding the bracket on. There are 2 screws on each side and 2 in the middle. The screws are out, now let's work on removing the grommet. Press down on the grommet and force the whole thing through. And now it frees up the bracket. Unplug the battery cable by pinching down and separating. The bracket is free to move, now slide it out. Feed the wires through the hole in the bracket. And set it aside. Now the grommet can be lifted through with ease. Pull the wires out of the grommet. And set it aside. Next, feed the wires back through the hole in the frame. Now we can remove the 4 screws holding the battery to the frame. Take your Phillips screwdriver and remove the 4 screws. All 4 screws are removed. Now we can slide our battery straight out. And that concludes step 2, removing our controller tray and battery. Now into step 3, reinstalling our controller tray and installing our new battery. Take your controller tray. The cable should be running out of the back and along the side. Feed the cable all the way through and grab onto it. Now before we can set the controller tray all the way in, we have to insert the battery. Take your brand new battery. Make sure you only use genuine Razer products. Slide in the side with multiple wires first. Gently slide the battery down. Now from the bottom, grab the wires coming from the battery and slide them through the hole in the controller tray. And now you can pop in the controller tray. Place the side with the charging port in first and pop down the back side. Now take your grommet from the controller tray, place the wires coming from the motor in the grommet, and pop it back into the controller tray. Now we can plug in all the cables in the controller tray. Remember, they all only plug in one way. The controller is now all plugged in, so let's take our controller tray cover, set it on top, pop it into place, and screw it back together. Next, let's secure our battery. Take your Phillips screwdriver and the 4 screws and screw the battery back to the frame. The battery is now secure, so let's take our bracket and slide it in. And then take your 3mm Allen wrench along with your 4 screws and start securing it. Next, feed the wires back through the frame. Next, take your grommet, pop the wires into it, and pop it through the hole. Now plug in your 2 wires. Tuck the wires in nice and neat. Now take your end cap, slide it on. With the end cap on, now take your Phillips screwdriver and your screws and secure it. And that concludes step 3, reinstalling our controller tray and installing our brand new battery. Now on to step 4, reinstalling our wheel. Take your wheel, pop it into place, line up the holes. Now take your axle and bolt and slide them through. And with your 2 5mm Allen wrenches, secure it down. And that concludes step 4, reinstalling our wheel. Now turn on the power and make sure it works. I hope you found this video helpful and informative, but if you are still having any troubles or complications, please feel free to visit the customer support section on Razer.com. Gotta go, Buffalo.